Introduction. We're the Social Security Advisory Committee. The Social Security Advisory Committee is an independent group of experts. They give advice to the government about benefits. We wanted to find out how the DWP listens to, engages with, and learns from disabled people. And that includes deaf people to get their views on Social Security and on finding work. These were the things we wanted to find out. Number 1. Does DWP ask disabled people, what's working well? What's working badly? What are disabled people's suggestions for improvements? And do they let people know what they do to improve things as a result? Number 2. How would disabled people like to get involved with DWP? Number 3. How can DWP better listen to disabled people? How we went about this. We talked to a lot of people from organizations who work with disabled people. Some of these are organizations run by disabled people. Some of the organizations we spoke to work with learning disabled people. Some work with deaf people, including BSL users. We asked disabled people what they thought and asked them to write to us. We talked to people in DWP and asked them what they were doing to listen to disabled people. We talked to people in the NHS and in other organizations and asked them how they listened to disabled people. DWP. This is what they told us. DWP told us about different ways they have for listening to disability organizations and disabled people. DWP told us that some disabled people didn't trust them, and that they wanted to get much better at listening to them and working with them. For example, they've listened to a lot of people with autism so they can work out how to improve job centers. DWP said they want to improve how benefits for disabled people work. They said they are asking disability organizations about this, and they've been holding listening events around the country to hear directly from disabled people. They told us that they are going to publish proposals soon and ask people what they think of them. This will be called a green paper. Disabled people and disability organizations. They told us some good things about DWP, and they told us what was bad and how DWP could improve. The good things. DWP are getting better. They have more meetings with disability organizations and with disabled people, and they ask people's views more. When you know the right people in DWP, they are very helpful and try to answer your question. They often adopt suggestions. They're getting better at asking people with learning disabilities to test new documents and letters to ensure they are accessible. The things they need to improve. DWP need to become more consistent so that everyone behaves like the best people in DWP. They often don't tell people what's happened to the advice they've given and how DWP are going to use it. Sometimes they say they want your views, but they don't want to hear everything you want to say. They just want your views on the specific question they're interested in. They don't want to hear why a different idea would be better, just how to make their own idea work. They don't allow disabled people enough time to arrange meetings or to work out what they think. Sometimes they say ideas have been co-produced with disabled people when all they've done is had a meeting. They're much better at working with big disability charities than working with small organizations run by disabled people. Sometimes their meetings aren't accessible. Other organizations. This is what we found out. In the NHS, there's a law that says the NHS has to consult the people who are affected by what they do. The NHS publishes guidance and rules on how to consult people. The Department of Transport has its own committee to advise it on how to make transport better for disabled people. Some local authorities are very good at listening to the people who live there and giving them a say. They've made that part of how they work. The Scottish Government is going to have its own disability benefits. They've asked 2,400 people with experience of claiming benefits how the Scottish benefits should work. What we think. We think that DWP have a lot of ways of hearing what disabled people think. Some of these are ways they've always used, some are more recent. We think they really mean that they want to listen more and listen better. But it's a bit hit and miss. Some of what they do is really good. Sometimes it isn't. It will take some time to make sure that the good practice becomes normal practice. We think they particularly need to improve the following things: making sure they are hearing from black and minority ethnic groups, making sure they are in contact with people who are often not listened to, like homeless disabled people, listening more to disabled people themselves rather than only organizations, telling people how their advice is being used, Giving people more time. Giving disabled people and disability organisations more say in the questions they discuss with DWP. What we recommend. We're asking DWP to do 7 things. Recommendation 1. DWP should agree a plan with disabled people for how it will listen to them. We're calling this a protocol for engagement. It should cover how and when it listens to disabled people, the times when DWP is able to give disabled people an equal say, how DWP will make the necessary adjustments so that disabled people with different impairments or illnesses can be heard equally. How DWP will actively engage different sorts of organisations, including small and local user-led organisations. How it will hear from lots of different groups of disabled people, including Black and ethnic minority people. How it will listen to disabled people to find out what's working and what needs improving. Recommendation 2. DWP should publish more information about how it's listening to disabled people and disability organisations and what they are saying. Recommendation 3. DWP should ask lots of disabled people to form a very large group to advise it. Recommendation 4. DWP should use technology more so it can listen to disabled people without expecting them to travel to face-to-face meetings. Recommendation 5. DWP should expect the organisations who work for it, open brackets, like the companies who do medical assessments, close brackets, to listen more to disabled people. Recommendation 6. DWP should assess whether its benefits are accessible and make improvements quickly when they are not. Recommendation 7. DWP should appoint a senior, non-executive director to champion this plan and publish an annual report on progress.